Hello and welcome again to another Dragon Age video tutorial by SilentCid. Here today we're going to work on triggers. We got two triggers we're going to work on. There'll be a third one later on when we start working on cutscenes, but since we don't have a cutscene that I made up just yet, we're just going to be working off what we've been showing so far. We're going to be working on a talk trigger, and we're going to be working on an area transition trigger. Let's go ahead and start with the area transition trigger first, because that's one of the easiest ones to do, and it's different from having an area transition door, and especially with one that's invisible. It's not shown right here because I took it out for this particular lesson, but I did have a visible door, and you can choose that from the list of placeables: invisible wall, or visible door, and you can just place it right there. It works the same thing as this trigger, but this trigger just instantaneously takes you to the next area instead of giving you the option, do you want to venture forth to that area. So we're just going to go to File, New, Trigger, and we need to name this with the first letter or first word being trigger. It has to be like this or it will not work. And we're just going to be very general with this. I'm just going to name it transition or area transition. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel, but go ahead and hit OK to create a new one. And it's going to look similar like this. It's going to pop up. It's going to have all this list of stuff. All we need to do here is go to variables, and it's going to be something similar to what you did with the doors on the, second, maybe first video tutorial. You're going to have the destination area tag, but instead of being PLC, it's going to be trigger, and then you can have a trigger at destination tag, which is going to be the waypoint to the next area for the player to start at. So I have OST being Ostagar, because that's what my next area is, and OST_start being the waypoint that I set for the name. So you want to make sure that you got the resource name for each of them, and of course the waypoint name or tag for the other one. And very simple, just placing this. Once you have that saved, you're just going to click on this, and then you can click. It's going to show you a green line. You're just going to click once, click once, click once, click one more time, but you want to click at the same spot so that it can complete, it can connect the vertices, so that it makes like a rectangular shape. It can be any type of shape you want, as long as at the last point that you want to make, you want to double click so that it can complete your shape. And they're all perfectly flat, so I had a little bit of trouble with this particular one since this ground is not perfectly flat, so it might seep in inside the ground, so you want to kind of try to lift it up and play around with that so it shows more of the blue, where your character will be able to hit or bump into that. And that's an area transition trigger, so make sure that you have trigger as the first part of that when you're making area transitions, when you're naming it. Now with the conversation trigger, it doesn't have to have the word trigger_convo. That's just me putting that there. You're just going to do the same steps as you did with the area transition, making it so it brings you to this part when you're creating it. And for script, we need to change it from the default one it has there, and we're just going to open up a generic one, which is gen00tr_talk.nss or .nss. Hit OK, and you won't find this when you're browsing through all that stuff. The game seems to, the tool set seems to know that you're wanting to use a generic one for talking. It saves you a lot of time in trying to make your script for this particular script from scratch. We want to change the variable 2DA to be the var_trigger_talk, and the variables I have trick_talker_speaker to be the quest giver, which is the resource name for our quest giver. Instead of using Sergi as his name, we're going to have quest giver. I'm just going to cancel this. Go ahead and hit, you want to save it. And then you're going to just do the same thing, place it around the area, relatively close to the stage, the dialogue stage. And that way when you run into that, he'll instantly start talking that this area is, or that hut behind him is infested with hut monsters, so that we don't just go right through him not knowing he was there to begin with or have a quest. We want to force him to know that there's such a quest right there. So that's pretty much it for these two triggers. I'm going to go in game now so I can show you the examples. Alright, we're inside the game. Let's go ahead and give you those two examples on what you should have if you've done the steps correctly. We're going to go to the dialogue portion of it first. So we're going to run into it. And I'm just going to accept the quest here, so I'm going to just hit stuff fast. And you can see it doesn't activate anymore, his talking. And I'm going to run into the area transition trigger. As you can see, it instantly took me to the next area, which is Ostagar. And as you can see, that trigger doesn't bring back up if I change an area, so that is pretty much fixed. And go ahead and add those into your maps, and we'll see you next time.